We have a couple quarterbacks to talk about who are surefire bets this week. We have a duo of wide receivers who are becoming interesting to get in your fantasy lineups. And of course, we got bold predictions and not so obvious locks of the week. Let's talk about it.
You are now listening to the Rival Fantasy Sports Podcast. Let's go.
Quarterback. Such an interesting position. And you're going into what is either one of your fantasy playoff games or your fantasy championship game. You cannot mess around. So let's talk about some quarterbacks who I still think can be in your starting lineup this week and actually help you win a championship. The first one is Brock Purdy. He's playing the Raiders. Easy money. There's nothing else to say about this. The Raiders are in a bad spot right now. They are benching Derek Carr. They're starting Jarrett Stidham, who I would not recommend you start this week. But Brock Purdy is a lock. He's easy money to me this week. You got to get him in your lineups if you're in your fantasy championships and you're in a spot where you need to find a quarterback to start. You also got Gardner Minshew, however, who I think if Hurts is out, which it seems like he might be, Minshew is good enough in fantasy. His weapons are great, and he will get you the fantasy points you need if, again, you're in a bad spot. Now, I'm not telling you to pick up these guys and start them over your dependable starter who has got you all this way, but if you're in a bad spot, I definitely trust both these guys. You also have Jared Goff, who continues to play well, number 2 QB in week 16, so you could trust him. He's been playing well. Not like, oh, he's been playing well in the beginning of the year. No, he's playing well right now. So he's definitely worth being in your lineup. And of course, Mike White also returns to action, and so he could be in your starting lineup. Again, if you're in a need for that, or if maybe you're in a 2 QB league, these guys can definitely help you out there. At running back, we have Tyler Algier and Zach Moss. I'm just kind of repeating them from last week. The same advice continues for them. I still think they're worthy of getting in your rosters and in your starting lineups. You get the Panthers running backs who both went over 100 yards in week 16. That's interesting to see. Can you trust them? I think they're a little more inconsistent because you don't know which one is going to go off or if the Panthers are really going to struggle. I do trust Foreman a little more still. That's just my guy that I've been going with all year in terms of when Christian McCaffrey left. But again, Panthers running backs are an interesting option for you. The last guy is James Cook. Good production, even with Singletary being productive. James Cook still played well. Even when Singletary plays well, it doesn't mean James Cook can't play well. Now, the Bills did go a little more run heavy past week, so that also played a part in it. But James Cook is looking better and better and better, and I really like him. So if you're in a bad spot, you got a flex that you need to fill, or a third running back, or whatever the case may be, James Cook is a good option. For the wide receivers, I like Hodgins and Richie James at New York. They're both, doing really well. They're healthy. Daniel Jones is playing his best year yet. I would get them in the mix. I have no problem with you flexing one of these two. I have no problem with you putting one in the wide receiver 3 spot. These two have been coming up pretty well, getting some touchdowns, getting a lot of the targets. I like them. I think they're pretty good. The Giants wide receiver situation is super interesting with Robinson, Hodgins, Richie James. They are seeming to get something going there. So we'll see. And it could just be that Daniel Jones is getting better and better. Either way, it's all working out for the Giants in terms of the passing game and the wide receivers. I'm really happy for them in that sense. And you can trust them in fantasy. Jahan Dotson, I feel like I talk about him every single week, every single episode. If he's still available, what kind of league are you in? Let's just ask that first. But if he's still available, if it's not a deep league and you don't have deep rosters, he possibly is available. He'll get you a touchdown, right? Like that's pretty much a lock at this point. The targets are going up. The QB trusts him. The offensive coordinators are calling plays for him. Jahan Dotson is as good as a bet as anybody else to get a touchdown this week for you in the championships or fantasy playoffs. And the last guy, kind of an injury substitute, is Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson is out. Romeo gets the big nod for the fill-in, the fill-in guy. So one rookie in, one rookie out. Romeo is the guy that I would trust there. I think, again, he's explosive enough. Aaron Rodgers still has a little bit left in the tank that you can get production out of him. So Romeo Doubs is the guy that I would trust, again, if you're like the team who lost Christian Watson, that he's okay to use as a fill-in. I understand the difference being how deep your league is, how deep the rosters are, all that kind of stuff matters. So these guys might be available or might not. Tight end is always a tricky one. You see every single week, someone does well, someone doesn't. Juwan Johnson is still the guy that I'm going to recommend. I know he's been inconsistent, but last week wasn't great. I'll acknowledge it. It wasn't great. He's still the one I believe in. Of course, there's all the other guys that we've talked about all year that you can rotate into the mix, depending on the schedule, depending on who they're playing. don't fall for Zylstra. You know, the production he had, the game he had, it's not going to keep happening. So don't be the one who buys in on that and falls for it. But other than that, Jawan Johnson is the one guy that I just keep recommending each week who I think that you should get into your lineup at tight end because I think he has the explosive ability. He's in a decent offense. They need to rely on someone to score points there, and Jawan Johnson, again, is as good as a bet as anyone in that offense. The guy you want to catch your league mates slipping on is Greg Dortch. Whenever he gets real targets, he produces. If you look at the stat lines, that's just how it goes. He gets targets, he scores, he gets production, period. End of story. It seems like the Cardinals are trusting him more. The head coach talked him up, said that he's seeing better things out of him. I think you should buy into that. You should believe in that. Get him on your roster. As I always say, depending on the depth of your league, depending on the injuries you're dealing with, say you lose a Christian Watson, Dortch is a great guy to fill in with for him. Bold prediction for week 17. Last week, Najee Harris had a decent week. He didn't hit over the 100 yards that I had, kind of predicted for him in my bold prediction. He didn't land in the top 5 at running back, but he was a solid bold prediction in my opinion. He didn't hit the marks I set, but I still feel like it was, he hit some pretty good numbers and had a pretty good week for you not to feel disappointed in him. In week 17, the bold prediction is going to be Desmond Ridder. Hear me out. Hear me out. He'll get his first touchdown of the season. Matter of fact, let's give him two passing touchdowns. Drake London will be on the end of one of those. Tyler Algier will pull in one as well. That is my bold prediction of the week. Desmond Ridder will score his first and second touchdowns of the season. Not so obvious lock of week 17. I was right about Pickens. I was right. The Raiders last week proved me right. They allowed Pickens to have a productive week for you in fantasy. This week, I'm going with Romeo Doubs. I spoke about him earlier in the episode. He's playing the Vikings. Watson is out. Vikings weak past D. This seems like a good situation. The Vikings have been giving up a lot of points. They've been in these shootouts. They come out on top of a lot of these shootouts, but they've still been in shootouts nonetheless. We all know Aaron Rodgers is game for a good shootout, and Romeo Doubs is going to get involved in that. So I feel like Romeo Doubs is my not so obvious lock for week 17. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us on YouTube reach new audience, reach new users, reach new listeners. We want to help as much people as we can. We want to entertain as much people as we can. And the only way to do that is with your help. By you hitting subscribe, by you talking to us in the comments, liking the video, sharing it. You guys are so important to all this. So we need your support. Leave any start, sit, waiver questions you may have. Any just lineup questions in the comments at all. Again, it doesn't have to be just redraft. It could be dynasty, DFS. It could be rivalfantasy.com related. Whatever it is you want to ask, we will get to those. I promise. Shout out to the listeners on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or if you're watching on Spotify, because you can watch on there. We do upload video as well. Tap the subscribe button on there. Leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it. You can always find us on all the social media platforms, specifically Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Rival Fantasy on all 3 platforms. Follow us. Let us know you watched the show. I will follow you back on there. Or again, if you're not on YouTube, or if you are on YouTube but you have questions you want to ask on there instead, feel free to hit us up on those platforms and drop your questions there. Let us know you watched the show. Like I said, I'll make sure I follow you back. Most important, visit rivalfantasy.com today. If you create an account, make a deposit, use the promo code RIVAL when you sign up, and you will automatically have our loss protection activated as soon as you sign up and make that deposit. This way you have loss protection up to $50. If you lose, we're gonna protect you. We're gonna protect you up to $50. It's a great deal. We have fantasy bingo, we have fantasy book, we have head-to-head challenges, everything you can want, everything in one place. We will also have season-long fantasy on there, football next year in 2023. So again, go there, sign up today, use the promo code RIVAL, get our loss protection activated on there for you. Enjoy it while you watch the games. And it's not just football, it's basketball, maybe baseball on there during baseball season, all this good stuff. Don't miss out. Be a part of it. RivalFantasy.com. Guys, that is it for this week. I'm out. Good luck in your fantasy playoffs or your fantasy championships. I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. We're out.